Everywhere I go, people think I'm naive and a little out of touch. Everywhere I go, people think I'm naive and a little out of touch because I believe it is possible to end poverty and hunger, and that our faith and church can make a difference so that all are fed. Yes. In the world today, we produce 1.5 times enough food to feed every person on the planet. But in this country alone, 60 million metric tons of food is wasted each year. That's enough food to fill Ford Field, where we're sitting right now, not once, not twice, but to the brim 292 times. A full third of all the food produced in the world is never eaten. And the food wasted in countries like the United States is enough to feed every single person who is hungry today. Hunger is not caused by scarcity. Hunger is caused by inequality. Yeah. So, when many of your parents were born, the population of the world was about 4 billion people. At that time, about 1 billion of those people were experiencing extreme food insecurity. And now it's your turn. Hold up both of your hands and fold in your thumbs. This represents the population of the world today, rounded to about 8 billion people. And again, hold up just your pointer finger. This represents the 1 billion people who are food insecure today. While progress is being made, 1 billion is unacceptable. Unacceptable to us and to God. 1 billion is unacceptable, but change is possible, and we each have a unique part to play. Yes. I was adopted from South Korea at the age of 6 months. When I was 12 years old, my whole family and I had the opportunity and privilege to meet my birth father, a rare thing for most adoptees. 12 is a good age, old enough to have some higher brain functioning going on, but young enough that I still had my whole life ahead of me. I met my birth father in a crowded restaurant in the town of my birth, and it was like a movie scene, dimly lit, piano playing in the background, and then the doors opened and the light shone, and I leaned over to my mother, and I said, "I bet that's him." And it was. I am the youngest. I'm the youngest of 5 daughters to that family. I was born in rural South Korea in the 1980s. Now, the global economy, including in South Korea, was not doing very well. Sometimes, when countries are struggling economically, they get help from 2 international groups, the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. To help, sometimes they import or bring in the staple food of the people at a low price so they can afford to buy it. In this case, that food was rice. My birth father was a rice farmer who couldn't make ends meet because the price on his crop was being undercut by the influx of a cheaper product. My birth father was a rice farmer who had just given birth to his 5th girl. But in a culture that prefers boys, he needed a boy to pass on his land and help with the work. I was the fifth girl. My birth father was also a parent. He wanted opportunities, education, good health, and nutritious food for the girl that he had just welcomed into the world, and so he made the difficult decision to put me up for adoption. I grew up here in the United States with my wonderful family. I've never wanted for anything, much less food, a day in my life. I had a great education. My story leads me today to work and ministry with LCA World Hunger. It took me first to gender justice advocacy. What are the systems involved in land inheritance in patriarchal society? What makes a culture prefer a boy over a girl? But as I work with LCA World Hunger, what are the systems that keep the poor poor and the rich rich? There are systems in this world that affect entire countries and individual families. That's why I do this work, but if that was my entire story, I could be working for any aid organization. I can go to work each day with the belief that it is possible to end poverty and hunger because of my faith. Every day, as people of faith, we actively believe in something that others consider impossible. We believe in Jesus Christ, God made flesh, who died and then rose again for the sake of the world. Yes. My faith in the impossible life of Christ encourages me that an end to hunger is not only possible, but doable. It is possible because we know a God of abundance, a God who looked on the gift of 5 loaves and 2 fish and said, "There is enough," and a crowd was fed. It is possible to end poverty and hunger because we know a God who has gifted us with this community through baptism, through water. We are gifted with both daily life and abiding life in Christ to the end of the age. This week, you are invited to join LCA World Hunger in the Walk for Water at Cobo Hall. Water is integrally related and often it complicates the challenges that are faced by people living in poverty and experiencing hunger. 70% of all water used is used for agricultural purposes. It takes 300 gallons of water to make 1 pound of rice. Now imagine my birth father trying to grow enough rice to keep his family together, and now imagine if there was a severe drought and he didn't even have enough water to get his crops started. Women in sub-Saharan Africa walk on average 3.7 miles per day for clean water to keep her healthy, clean water to cook, clean, bathe, clean water for her and her family. Here in the United States, there are places where there's significant flooding and others crippling drought. Even here in Detroit, there are places where the water has been shut off and is not readily available. So this week, embrace the belief that it is possible to end poverty and hunger. Our hope is in the resurrection and a God of abundance. Hunger is not caused by scarcity. Hunger is caused by inequality, so let's get to work. Yes. When you walk this week and when you return home, remember that you can make a difference. God has called and created each of us for such a time as this and task as ending hunger, and I invite you to join me. thank you for all that you do to combat poverty and hunger already, and for all that we will do together here this week. Let's rise up together. Thank you.